Welcome into SBR's NBA playoff closing line. We got Ian Cameron, we got Ski Prophet. I am Drew Martin. We're breaking both Game 7s down for tomorrow's slate. Guys, welcome in. Please smash the like button as you're coming in. And his long-awaited return, Hakeem Profits at Ski Prophet on Twitter. Welcome back, buddy. Good to have you.
What's going on? It's great to be back. You know, I love breaking down the games with you guys. I definitely miss doing it, so I'm looking forward to doing it again today.
Man, we are really excited. I know Ian is, I am, and the chat box lighting up for you, man. So good to have you back. Good to have you back, buddy. You really helped the show out. Great guy. So follow him on Twitter at Ski Prophet. We also got Ian Cameron on Twitter at Babano. Good guy himself. Welcome in, Ian. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Drew, and welcome back to our man Ski Prophet here. Great to have him back. Obviously, he was dealing with some personal situations, but we're happy to have him back here on the rotation as part of the closing line. And I'm sure we can all agree that we're looking forward to a pair of Game 7s tomorrow on Sunday here in the NBA playoffs. The second round that's been pretty thrilling. Of course, last night we do have to look back a little bit to what happened with Golden State and Houston. And really, to be honest with you, it was just a team with that championship medal, that championship pedigree, and that championship character really showing it last night with the Golden State Warriors finishing off the Houston Rockets on the road. They could have made all the excuses in the world. There's no Kevin Durant. We've still got a Game 7 at home in our building. You know, there's no panic if we don't finish the series now tonight on the road in Houston. Golden State wasn't satisfied with that. And you can look to Steph Curry. Here is the difference between a team like Golden State and a team like the Boston Celtics, who were just so pathetic in getting just thoroughly ambushed by Milwaukee. Steph Curry, one of the leaders, you can definitely say, of that Golden State team, has no points at halftime. You know, it wasn't a great half for him, but the team was still in the game. Could be easy to say, hey, it's not my night. You know, second half is just, it's nothing's going right for me. I'm just going to mail it in. I'm not going to continue to look for my shot. I'm not going to be aggressive anymore, knowing I didn't score at all in the first half. That's not Steph Curry's MO. That's not his DNA. He's just going to keep, trying to shoot, be aggressive. And sure enough, he ended up going off in the second half of that game. He led this team by example, got them going, got them rolling. Klay Thompson, say nothing to him, and the way he played in the first half. He was terrific as well for the Golden State Warriors. He got them going. Then you look on the flip side of the Boston Celtics situation, and Kyrie Irving is just a terrible example of leadership skills, a terrible example of character, if you'll ever see it. I mean, absolutely brutal from him. He's got the absolute gall to say in the press conference after his team got knocked out, there's no time to be disappointed. What? No time to be disappointed? Are you kidding me? I think there's a lot of Boston Celtics fans and a lot of teammates next to you that are pretty damn disappointed right now. Kyrie Irving. And then he says this another stupid thing. Give credit to Milwaukee. I'm excited to watch the Milwaukee Bucks in the conference finals against their next opponent. What? You're excited to see the Milwaukee Bucks? What? You're supposed to be in that conference finals if you had a shred of give a damn in you, which apparently you didn't in that whole series against the Milwaukee Bucks. But that's the difference. Getting back to Golden State, Steph Curry, one of the leaders of that team, he stepped up. He got it done. Kyrie, of course, does not for the Boston Celtics. And unfortunately for the Houston Rockets, it's same old song, same old story for them. More pain, no gain. It's where do we go from here once again for James Harden, whose playoff reputation is certainly not going to get any better now. Chris Paul, who's got to wait another year as the twilight years of his career unfold here in the NBA. Very, very tough way to end once again for the Houston Rockets.
And I'll tell you, Ian, if there's one time to be disappointed, it's when your team gets knocked out of the playoffs for that moment right thereafter. So that is a little strange, man. But hey, Ski, we need to get your opinion, man, on last night and anything that Ian said.
Well, first off, it was really interesting to see Kyrie's lack of leadership, I'll say, because he left because he was wanted to be that leader, right? He wanted the spotlight. And look how he's handled it. It's very disappointing. I consider myself a Kyrie fan, and I didn't like this season at all as far as from a leadership perspective. And I did think Boston would win. And I remember saying whoever wins out of that series is going to win the East. So that's what I think. And the other series, Golden State and Houston, are we surprised? I hope we're not surprised. I've been saying it for quite a while. Golden State, it's the championship team. Even without KD, the players, people were saying they don't have the same team or they're not as young. And I was just looking at the players that left. I mean, do they really matter? It was like Ian Clark, Harrison Barnes played terrible when they had him. Barbosa, the only one, Spates, was really good. But it's the same. It's plug and play. The next man up mentality. Golden State, they won 3 years in a row. They won before they had KD. Houston, James Harden, Chris Paul, D'Antoni. It's the same story, Drew. I know you remember me saying they're going to choke. Same story. Yeah. I hope nobody's surprised by that.
I'll tell you one thing I am surprised by, Ski. One, anytime a 7.5 point underdog wins outright, that it just kind of is a little, eye-opening. But I'll tell you this, I was surprised by the number that came out, and where it went to 7.5 here with Golden State. I thought that was a little drastic. I know a lot of people thought I might be in the minority in that. How did you feel about how the odds makers placed this number with KD out?
Honestly, I felt the same way when I hit when Boston played Milwaukee game 1. We talked about that game and we felt like it was way too many points in that game, and I felt the exact same way last night. I mean, the other games were like pick 'em, right? I don't think KD's worth 5 to 6, 7 points. I mean, it's a championship team that's done it already. I don't see why they would adjust that much. I understand Rockets were in desperation mode, but I feel like the books are just begging everybody, or just wanted everybody to seem like the Rockets were the play. See the money moving towards the Rockets and just wanted them to play it.
Okay, for sure. And guys, we are going to break down both Game 7s on tomorrow's slate for from a Vegas perspective, but I do want to get everybody's opinion on what has happened here in the last couple of days. But coming back to you, Ski, you did say, not surprised about the Warriors. Good things there. Right now, if you had to pick a team to win the NBA championship, would it be the Warriors?
Yeah, how is it not? I mean, we saw them. First of all right, let's see. They're now 27-1 without KD. So regardless if KD plays or not, they've already beat who we thought was their most competition, although the Bucks are really great. But KD should be back. They have a whole nother series before the finals. So I don't think they'll have any problem beating Portland or Denver with or without KD. They'll also be getting Boogie Cousins back next series. So, yeah, Warriors are winning the title.
Ian, you agree with Ski? You think it's still the Warriors to lose?
I had a few more concerns about Golden State going into this series in terms of whether they'd repeat again. But, boy, they reminded you last night that they're probably once again, they are the team to beat. Not probably, they are the team to beat once again. That was a statement performance last night, and there's a reason why Golden State celebrated that win last night more than just a normal, second round playoff series victory. I mean, they were pretty excited. They had a nice little shindig and party going on in the back. They were whooping it up pretty good from what I hear. Golden State after that win last night, and there's a reason. That was like an announcement back to the NBA world, back to some of the people that were starting to doubt them just a little bit, that, hey, NBA title and the Larry O'Brien trophy still runs through the Bay Area. And I think that's what they tried to show people last night with that win, minus Kevin Durant. They're going to obviously, hopefully you would think, get him back. DeMarcus Cousins is on the way back into the fold as well for Golden State, which in theory is going to make this team even stronger. So, yeah, I mean, you don't dismiss, obviously, Denver or Portland could give them a battle, but I don't know if they've got it in them to actually take down Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, on the East side, you've got Milwaukee could be a formidable foe for Golden State, and even a Toronto or Philadelphia has the chance to be mildly competitive against them too. But at the end of the day, I thought last night was an announcement by that Warriors team that, hey, if you want to win the NBA title, you have to take it from our cold dead fingers.
Good way to put it there, Ian.
I have to put it out there because that's my favorite player, Steph Curry. A lot of people talk bad about Steph because he takes the back seat. I mean, if you have the best player in the NBA on your team, you're going to give him the ball, right, to go get baskets. You're going to get out of the way, give him the ball and get out of the way. You see that he's still more than capable. He's unanimous MVP. He showed you he can turn it on whenever he wants to. When you have the best player in the world on your team, you can defer. That's okay. Maybe Westbrook needs to learn.
That's true, Ski. And it makes a lot of sense. We got a lot of people in the chat box giving you props, saying you stayed loyal to the Warriors, not just saying it after this last game. So congrats to you, Ski, on seeing that even before it happened. A lot of people in the chat box here, guys. We appreciate you joining us Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. Eastern here. We got Gabriel Hernandez. What's up? Andre Smith. Ray Williams in the house. Red Girl, what's up to you? She's saying hi to everyone out there. Man, we got a bunch of people in here. If you could smash the like button, it will help Ski, Ian, and myself out. Dom the Don, welcome in. Joe M, August in the house. All right, guys, let's get anything else you guys want to throw out before we break down tomorrow's two games? Anything you think that the listeners need to know about, Ski?
Yeah, go Ski. Go ahead.
Just a real quick shout out. I mentioned him before. My man, Netflix Allen's son, Caden. He's a diehard Warriors fan. He's a great baseball player. He's been saying it all along with me. Warriors are just playing with everybody. Warriors are winning the championship, and he's spot on. So shout out to Caden and Netflix Allen family.
And once again, last night we saw the old familiar angle, which is just almost money in the bank in the NBA, especially. It can work in other sports, but especially in the NBA. First game played when a team is without one of their top players. And everybody just collectively steps up and raises their level, plays a little bit harder, plays a little bit better, does a little bit more, contributes a little bit more. And that's what we saw last night with Golden State. I mean, hell, their bench even got some good production from them. You know, it was a good game for Jordan Bell, a good game for Livingston. You know, Jerebko gave them a great hustle plays throughout that basketball game last night. So and that's the one little flaw with Golden State. It's not a deep bench. It's not the Golden State bench that they've had in years past, but they showed, hey, don't underestimate that bench. If Steve Kerr needs us, we're in dire straits, we're without some guys, some bodies, we can step up and we can still make big shots, big plays, big steals, big defensive plays, rebound the basketball. A lot of those bench guys for Golden State provided those kind of quality minutes, quality plays for that team last night.
And Ian, on that point, when KD's not playing, it's less ISO. It's more Golden State Warrior basketball from 2015, where everybody's moving the rock, and that's why everybody plays better when Steph Curry's on the court and Kevin Durant is not.
That's a great point, Ski. I agree with that. Ian, are you seeing the same thing?
But definitely. I mean, it's obviously now Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers in particular. Now with KD not on the court, they don't have to ask themselves when they have the ball in their hands, oh, we should be looking for KD now. Where's he? Where's KD? We got to find him, right? No, and as a result, the ball starts the ball starts humming a bit more. You start, moving it better. You get maybe 3, 4, 5 passes before you get the open look or the shot you're looking for, as opposed to maybe just one pass and then look for KD and it's maybe a contested shot. So you're right. I think offensively, not that the offense doesn't flow well with KD. Obviously, there's still a high-scoring juggernaut, and he can make shots with hands right in his eyes. That's how good he is, KD. But from a ball movement perspective, from a flow of the offense overall, without KD, believe it or not, it seems like everybody gets involved more. It frees up, and Klay and Thompson feel more free and easy. Like, hey, if we get that first look, that first good shot to take, we're going to take it instead of just, hey, let's defer to Kevin Durant all the time. And you're right. It's a totally different dynamic, the Golden State team offensively, with and without KD.
Good stuff, guys. And we should get to the games here soon. Shout out to Greg, Andre, Dave, Craig, all in the house in the chat box. Thanks, guys.
One last point, Drew, about that game before we move on. Mike D'Antoni, give him credit for the candor in the post-game press conference. He said it. We all knew it. We all saw it. When Steph Curry's sitting there on the game sheet, on the stat line, with 0 points at halftime, and you're in a tie game with the Golden State Warriors, that's bad news for the team playing the Golden State Warriors that night. And it proved to be that way. Steph Curry, 0 points, and you're tied with the team at halftime. Yeah, that was bad news for Houston, and it cost them in the end.
All right, guys, let's start breaking down these games. We got Sunday, May 12th, 3:30 Eastern and 7 p.m. Eastern, back-to-back game sevens. Portland and Denver up first. Philadelphia and Toronto up second. We'll start at the top of the board here, 525, 526. The rotation numbers on ABC, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific tip here. We got 212 being the total. The Denver Nuggets laying 5.5 at home. It's Game 7. Ski, we've missed you, man. Why don't you start us off? Portland, Denver. How you looking to bet this one? 212 the total. Denver minus 5.5 at home.
Well, first off, we know two teams here. Denver, best home team in the NBA. And Game 7, home teams have been extremely successful. I think I heard Donnie Rightside come on Lowbag and say, I can't remember the exact number, but it was about 100 and something to 20 something or 30 something. So a very big percentage where the home team in Game 7 wins. That mixed with Portland is much better at home as well. They're not that great away. It already pushes me towards Denver. A couple stats I'm looking at: when the spread is +4 to +7, Portland is 7-9. They're 11-18 as a road dog. They do play up to competition. They're 25-19 against the spread versus 55% when teams are greater. On the other side, Denver, they're 13-10 when the spread is -7 to -4, 27-18 as a home favorite, 25-22 against upper competition, 55% when teams are greater. So looking at this and just thinking about it, I didn't expect Cantor to make it through the series. It's pretty incredible that he has with his separated shoulder. I still think Denver will take advantage of them down low, Millsap and Jokic, and being at home. I can only look towards Denver on the full game spread. Also, I don't trust Stotts. Stotts is not a great coach. He has a bad track record over there. He's 15-30-1 against the spread in the playoffs. And another look on the first half with Stotts, they're 2-9 on the first half against the spread, games 5 through 7. And then we know Portland is a great first quarter team. I mean, if you like Portland, you have to look at them on the first quarter. Besides that, I mean, I'm looking to fade that first half margin. I also know that Denver picks it up in that second quarter at home. Their second quarter points per game, they're 29.2, and Portland is 25.3. So that's about 4 points. And on the second quarter spread, you'll probably get, I mean, if it's 5.5, you'll probably get 1.5 for a second quarter line. So I would look to bet Denver on the first half, Denver on the second quarter, or if you like Denver on the full game, or if you like Portland, it would have to be the first quarter for me.
In that first quarter line right now at SBR odds, we're seeing 2 across the board right now. So that's Denver -2. So with Ski's advice, looking towards Portland +2. And Ski, you brought up the fact of it would be 1.5 in the second quarter. I know you know the quarter betting a lot better than I do. What would the first quarter play have to do with that line? Or you think it usually just goes back to whatever the odds makers would say the second quarter would be as far as 1.5, or how much would it be decided by the first quarter play?
Well, the second quarter line is already going to be out before the game starts. So it's not going to be based on what happens in the first quarter.
At all?
No. The line, I mean, it might not show there right now, but by tomorrow, I know for sure it will be out. I'll check Bookmaker right now, but I know the lines come out before the game for each quarter. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter.
Okay. No, that's good stuff, especially now coming closer to game time. We got Ian. Not sure if we got technical difficulties if you're with us, but man, jump in here if you can hear me.
No, I heard you. It was just the camera malfunctioning for a second there, but we're back. But yeah, I mean, when I look at it here with this game, I'm in agreement with Ski. In fact, I'm going to be Mr. Home Team, not to give it away the other game as well with both of these games tomorrow. I think it's just one of those situations where I like Denver to begin this series from my standpoint. I like the fact that they survived San Antonio in that 7-game series in the first round. I was concerned about that first series. We talked about that. Ski was with us for most of the first round, and we talked about San Antonio. You know, they put a scare into this Denver team. A lot of these guys going into the postseason for the first time, and Denver got put through the paces. But to me, this is a team that's gotten better. It's gotten stronger as the playoffs have gone on. They've played a very, very good series. I think you give Portland credit. I don't want to say it was Denver relaxing a little bit the last game, game 5, but I think or game 6, but I think there might have been some of that, knowing they had game 7. Now give them credit. McCollum and Lillard paced Portland to that win in Game 6. They were phenomenal shooting the ball in the Game 6 victory for the Blazers. Once they got it rolling, Portland sort of carried, ran away with the game in the second half. What did you get? 30 from McCollum on 12 of 24. Lillard, 32 points, 11 of 23. So they were fantastic for the Portland Trail Blazers, and that's going to be their path to victory here. If they're going to win a Game 7 on the road, they need both of these guys, not just one. They can't have McCollum on, Lillard off, or vice versa. They've both got to be on their game here. They've both got to be shooting the ball well if Portland's going to get out of here with a road win. I don't think it's going to be as easy. Let's not forget Denver's played a Game 7 at home before, so they're used to it now. They should be familiar with the Game 7 pressures. They had to go through this against San Antonio in the first round, and I think they're going to close out better. The one concern I would have with laying 5.5 here with Denver is that if you remember in Game 7 against San Antonio, they were in control most of the game. I think they were up by 8, 9, 10, even as much as 14 points most of that game against the Spurs, and they went to sleep a little bit with about 5-6 minutes to go in that game. And San Antonio comes back. They get to within 1, I believe, with under a minute to go, and Denver needs a big shot from Jamal Murray, Kitchener, Ontario's finest. I got to throw that out there. Jamal Murray to really put that series away for the Denver Nuggets. So Denver sort of, I don't know, they thought it was over sooner than it was. Maybe that's part of it. I think they learned from those lessons that, hey, we got to stay on this for 48 minutes. You can't just, hey, put it on cruise control in a Game 7, because the other team's not going to give up. Their season's on the line as well. So if Denver learns those lessons, don't turn the switch off with 5 minutes to go and think you've won already. I think they'll be better suited. They'll learn from those lessons of that Game 7 against San Antonio, where they let the Spurs back into the game in the final 6 minutes. And if they do that, I think they'll win this game. And I certainly lean to them to cover the number as well. Denver minus 5.5 is the way I would go here. And the total's interesting because it's 212.5. It's been an over bonanza in this series. It's been a very high-scoring series. But if there's ever a spot maybe to buck that just a little bit, it would be Game 7. We know Game 7 usually defense, shot making gets tighter. Defense gets a lot more difficult to have to navigate. This is one game where I might be willing to buck this over surge that we've seen here in this Nuggets and Blazers series. So 212.5, I'd lean to a little bit to the under here. I think we're due for a lower scoring game, and Game 7s historically have played to the under.
Yeah, Ski, that sentiment to Game 7's playing towards the under, is that something that you subscribe to as far as, defensive fundamentals, get back on defense? It's Game 7. Would you look to bet the under as well because of that?
I would agree with the thought process that Game 7s tend to be more under type games. Teams are going to take their time. They know every possession matters. You're going to get the maximum effort on defense. Denver, if we both think Denver's going to win, Jimmy and I, we talk about this throughout the year. Who controls the pace, the home team or the better team? Well, the home team is Denver, and the better team to us, Ian and I, is Denver. We think Denver's going to win, and Denver likes to play slow. Their pace on the year is 27th out of 30, so they want to play nice and slow. Portland does put up more points and play faster at home, but on the road, like I said, they're not as great of a team. So I would lean on that under as well. I would look to buck the trend. It has went over 9 of the 10 times they've played this year, but I would be in agreement with Ian that it would be more towards the under game.
I like it. I like the breakdown of the better team and the home team. Ian, have at it, man.
Now, by the way, 90-86 in that Game 7, Denver, San Antonio in the first round. So I don't want to make it sound like it's only going to be 176 points in the game this time around, but that total was 207.5. It ended up 176 points in that Denver San Antonio Game 7. So I know it's been an over series, and these are two really good offensive teams when they get it going. Jokic and Murray have the nice, great inside-outside game going. Will Barton, when he's making big threes, they're even better offensively, Denver. Obviously, we know Portland is very, very lethal on the backcourt with McCollum and Lillard. And even in the front court, they've gotten some offense from, guys like Aminu, and Cantor's even stepped up offensively for them. And they can be a tough team to stop. And that's why we've seen an over series, because you've had two very good offensive efficiency performances from these two teams. But at some point, the offensive efficiency has to drop a little bit from the clip that we have seen it at for the last several games of this series. And no better time for that to happen than a Game 7 with your season on the line.
Ski, I got a question for you. You know, talking about the better team, the home team controlling the pace. Just doing a quick little research. May 9th, Thursday's game, Denver at Portland. Of course, it finished 227, the total, but the line total, the closing total was 213.5. So just 2 days later, the better team and the home team, now Denver, playing slower, it's 212.5. So just a 1 point change from the odds makers on that. Is that enough in your opinion of what you're talking about, the better and the home team controlling the pace?
The first line that you said, I just need you to repeat the first line and the second line.
Sure. May 9th, just game 6 in Portland, Denver at Portland. It was 213.5, the closing line. And now we're seeing 212.5, it being at Denver.
Okay. And the last game went over, and they're adjusting more towards the under. So they're in agreement with us. I mean, usually when it goes over, they move it up a couple points. We're seeing them move it down a couple points. So, I mean, I think that goes in line with what we're saying. I like that a lot. Yeah,
no, it definitely does. And in your opinion, is 1 point enough? You know, do you think that they should even make it lower than, because last game was 213.5?
To answer your question, I do think it goes under. I don't think they should make it lower, because you just saw a game that went over that total. So I don't know. Maybe if you put it low, well, I guess if you put it lower, more people would
get
bet.
More bets.
That's the thing. Here, that's bang on. I was just going to point that out. You hit the nail on the head just now. The liability concern is the issue. Because what's the public going to do when they flock into these Vegas sports books? They're going to bet the over in these games. They don't want the under. They want the score for points, or they want to cheer for points. They want to cheer for things to happen. That's why people love betting overs. And they don't want to drop it to a point where it's like 208.5 just because it's game 7, when they know they're going to get hammered with over bets, over wagers, especially when Joe Public's going to walk in there and say, hey, game 6 went over, game 5 went over, game 4 went over. All these games in the series, other than one, have gone over the total. You know, we don't want to drop this total too low that we have now too much significant liability toward the over in game 7. So I think that's why you have not seen more than a 1 point drop in the game 7 total from where it was in game 6.
Yeah, that's a great point. Not that this is rocket science or anything, but it's kind of like next level as far as looking at what the odds makers are doing from game to game, who's the home team. I love looking back at where they set a total and then the next game, where is it at? And even like Ski was saying, it went 227 and they moved it a point down. I think that shows a lot of what, you know, the lead odds makers, the guys that know this very, very well, are thinking for game 7 as well. So I would use a lot of that information as far as, you know, things to use going into game 7 here.
Ski's point was great about the fact that when there's an over and there's another over and another over, the totals are supposed to increasingly get higher game to game as the series goes on. We had another over in game 6, and yet now we've seen the total drop ever so slightly by a point here for game 7. That's telling to me. That's a tell, potentially. That's a sign. Maybe odds makers think the under's the right way to go here in game 7.
Absolutely. And another good point by you, Ian, is as we get here, you know, inching closer to the conference finals, there's going to be more average Joe bettors coming in. That's more money, not necessarily, you know, the most educated money entering the market. So you can use that to your advantage as well.
No question.
Right. I agree. And like you said, if you're a bettor like that and you just see the total of the last game, you see 212, you're like, I'm betting over. So there you go right there. And sorry if you heard the stuff in the background. My niece kind of just came over. She's having a party over here. So that's what the noise was.
Happy birthday to Ski's niece. Yes.
Nice. I would say, could we get a cameo, but that might be a little weird. I don't know how that is, Ski.
It's all good.
All right, guys. Let's move on down to the bottom game here. We got 7 p.m. Eastern tip here. Philadelphia at Toronto. TNT is airing it. 209 being the total on SBR odds right now. We got -6. The Raptors laying at home. Ian, it's north of the border, man. Ski started off the last one. We got Philadelphia at Toronto. Is Toronto, in your opinion, going to be able to close it out? And if so, Would you lay the 6 at home?
They damn well better close it out. Because this franchise is going to be going through some changes if they do not close it out. And if this ends up being the catastrophic Game 7, that there's still some people in this area that feel that it could be that catastrophic Game 7, then everything just, you wonder where does this team go from here now with, the veterans that you brought in, Gasol, Ibaka, Green, Leonard, of course, being the big one. What's Kawhi do now? And Kawhi's probably going to be much, much less incentivized, so to speak. I don't even know if that's a word, but incentivized to stay in Toronto if you get your ass knocked out in the second round here in a Game 7. So there's a lot at stake here for Toronto. This is supposed to be Toronto's spot. It's Game 7 at home. This is what you got a Kawhi Leonard for, for a guy to dominate and take over a game like this of this magnitude, a guy who will not be afraid of the spotlight, afraid of the theater that goes with a Game 7. He will not be afraid of that. This is what you went out and got a Gasol for, a guy that's been in Game 7 playoff wars in the past. Ibaka's been there and done that. Danny Green's been there and done that. This is where this playoff grizzled experience of the Raptors is supposed to shine through in a spot like this with what I think is still, especially considering the guy on the other side, Joel Embiid, has had boiler issues and he's got knee issues and he's got respiratory cough issues because he's been dealing with all this crap. I still think that, the Raptors are supposed to have right now the best and certainly the healthiest player in the series, Kawhi Leonard, on their side. So I think that's supposed to be making a difference here in Game 7 in this game. So, and for Philadelphia, this is going to be a force in the Eastern Conference for the next 5 to 10 years. There's no question about that. But what I asked myself for the Philadelphia 76ers is Ben Simmons, who, let's be clear, he was having a terrible series until Game 6 the other night. That was by far his best game of this series. But is Embiid, are these guys in particular, these cornerstones of this Philadelphia team, are they ready for the youth and inexperience that they still have? Are they ready for a Game 7 situation like this? As dominant as the Sixers are going to be, for 5 to 10 years to come, these powerhouse teams that are just in the infancy stage of how good they're going to be, sometimes you got to go through some pain. Sometimes you got to go through some losing and some tough playoff lessons before you ascend to the mountaintop. And this could be that moment here for the Philadelphia 76ers. You got to go through a tough, painful series loss before you can get over the top and get to the next level. I think you're going to see something like that. Toronto, actually, it's a couple of years ago, but the last 2 times they've hosted a Game 7 at home, it's actually been good news for the Raptors. They beat Indiana in a Game 7 at home a couple of years ago. They beat Miami in the second round. Actually, Indiana and Miami at home in Game 7s that same season. That's the year they got to the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland. And they beat Indiana in a Game 7 at home. They beat the Miami Heat in a Game 7 at home. So they've done good. At least and Kyle was on those teams, of course, Kyle Lowry. So there's a proof that they've been able to win these games at home. This time around, they should be able to. With the experience you have, with a Kawhi Leonard on your team, they should be able to get this done. The only thing that's concerning is the Raptors, case of the playoff disappointments of years past. But like I say, this is a team that I think in Game 6, it was just everybody stunk up the joint. Like nobody played well on the Raptors. And an interesting stat that concerns me a little bit, but it has to go up. And maybe I think Game 7 at home, it should go up. This is because this was a good shooting Raptor team during the regular season, and especially in the first round against Orlando too. In this series, on uncontested threes, the Toronto Raptors are shooting 31%. I mean, that is just unbelievably bad. You would think pendulums of that magnitude in terms of poor shooting on uncontested 3 balls, it has to start going up at some point. Some of these guys they've got to start obviously making shots better than they have. I mean, we're talking about wide open looks with a lot of these threes the Raptors have missed, and the stat proves that. I think that has to improve. Obviously, you're going to get a good game from Kawhi. It's going to be Lowry. It's going to be, Gasol. I know sometimes he likes to take those wide open threes. He's going to have to make a couple. Ibaka's got to stop missing, 5-6 foot jump shots. He's got to finish at the rim. He's not done a good enough job of that, especially in the last game. Can Fred VanVleet give you a little something offensively? Because he's struggled in this series. That's going to be critical for Toronto if they're going to win this game. For Philadelphia, they've certainly got momentum from that Game 6 win. You can't dismiss that completely. And maybe Ben Simmons going in Game 6 helps them. and he's going to have another big game. But again, these guys, it's one thing to do it at home. It's another thing to do it on the road. And like Shaquille O'Neal says, it's the one thing he's said many times over the years I've watched the TNT broadcasts. You know, when you got a guy like Kawhi Leonard on your team, you know, that alpha male, that he's going to go through a brick wall to win a game for you. If the general has that kind of attitude, the troops will follow. Shaq says that all the time on the TNT broadcasts, and I think you get that kind of mindset from Toronto. So, you know, laying 6 is, you know, obviously it's well respected. Obviously, the last time they played on this floor, Toronto absolutely blew out Philly. It's been a weird series in that there's only been 2 close games, game number 2 and game number 4, and they each won one of those games. And then the other 4 games were blowouts. Game 1 and game 5, Toronto blowouts. Game 3 and game 6, Philadelphia blowouts. It's been a weird series. This is not a classic series, even though it's gone 7 games. Far from it, because you had 4 blowouts in the 6 games. But I think this is Toronto's spot. You know, I'm going to defer to them, and maybe Philadelphia's got to go through a little tough lesson in a game 7 with some of their still younger players maturing as time goes on. So I'm going to go Toronto here in this game. I actually like Denver a little bit more of the 2, but I would definitely look to Toronto -6.
All right, Ian, nice breakdown there, like in the Raptors. We got Andre Smith saying both favorites going to win tomorrow. Toronto will smash. Ski, what are you thinking here? Game 7 in the Eastern Conference. You think both favorites will smash tomorrow?
Yeah, whoever said that comment, I agree. I mean, we talked about Game 7 home teams. I mean, it's another situation right here. And Denver kind of, as Ian said, I don't know, they took their foot off the gas, or they kind of just knew that they had Game 7 at home. And that's kind of the same thing we saw from Toronto. There's kind of like a similar narrative with this series and the Houston one. I feel like Houston felt like it was their time to win. They had to win now. I feel like that's how the Sixers feel. The GM, I believe, or the owner said that if they don't make it to the conference finals, then this year is a bust. And I mean, they're right here. I mean, they should give the effort, but I don't trust Ben Simmons. I don't necessarily trust that Embiid will show up. The only person I trust to show up is Jimmy Butler. And a few stats: when the spread is +4.5 to +7.5, Sixers are 4-10. They're 11-14 as a road dog. We already know that they're much better at home. They're not that great on the road. They're 18-21 versus 55% when teams are greater. So fading Philly on the road has been great. Has been good. You definitely would think the Raptors would bounce back here. Coming into this series, Raptors were 5-0 against the spread first quarters. Last 5 first quarters, they were 9-2 against the spread last 11 first halves. Now it's been split. I think they went 3-3 on first halves, and they went 2-4 actually on first quarters. So that kind of takes me away from wanting to take the Raptors early. And I looked at their averages for first quarters and first halves. It's kind of too close. I do think Toronto pulls away and wins this game. If I'm betting it, I would have to be laying the points with Toronto.
Liking the Raptors laying the points. In the first quarter line right now on SBR odds is -2. That's Toronto laying at home. Ski, any quick opinions here on the first quarter? Would you look to bet them again?
No. If I'm betting the first quarter, honestly, it would be Philly. I would think Philly comes out and maybe hangs around a little bit. As far as averages, they average 30 first quarter points per game away. Toronto averages 28.3. And I mean, that's been an angle how I was looking at this series. I mean, the last game, we saw Philly smash the first quarter. Philly's been a great first quarter team. And I mean, they're a great first half team as well, but more so at home. First half points per game, they're pretty much tied, 57.4 and 57.7. So I just don't see too much of an edge to go early.
And Ian, any thoughts here on the first quarter? Also on the kind of betting sentiment, do you think the road team has an advantage in more so in the first quarter coming out guns blazing? Do you think it's more towards the home team in a game 7 first quarter? Do you think there's any difference there betting the first quarter to the full game?
I think the Raptors game 7s have been pretty close after the first quarter. So I'm kind of in agreement with Ski in terms of the first quarter. I wouldn't be involved either way, side or total, but it's not crazy to look toward the 76ers early in the game. coming off the momentum of Game 6's win, and then you've maybe look for the Raptors to settle in and start to dictate the terms as the game goes on. But early, into both of these games, Portland and Philly, the road teams, I think maybe the carryover effect, and both of them one going away in Game 6, they take that momentum and maybe bring their best to Game 7 in the first 12 minutes of the game, the first quarter, ride that wave of momentum before the home teams kick it into gear. So I think with both of those games, from a first quarter standpoint, I think probably the road teams would be the best way to go with those. And if you're looking at the road teams at all in these games, I think you're going to get their best efforts earlier in the game as opposed to later. First quarter, first half would be something I prefer with a Portland or a Philadelphia than the second half or a full game bet.
I have a quick I don't know how to say angle maybe, but I just had like a light bulb moment, man, when he was talking.
That's what this show's about.
That's what it's about. You just think of something right off the top of your head, and it comes to you. Yep.
I wish Tomarino was in here. He kind of brought this up, and Jimmy talked about it as well. Before I say that, we talked about the Game 7 home team angle and how it's been a great success back in home teams. Now, with that said, both of these home teams are coming off blowout losses. And I know Tomar, for over a year, when a team loses in a blowout, he backs in the next game. And he's had great success. And we're already talking about these games. We're in agreement with that. Toronto and Denver. So that makes me like it even more.
Yeah, I like it as well. And you're right. Tomar always in the chat wondering what's up. Hope everything's all right with him. We got V saying, hit that like button, everyone. Only takes a second, just as good as tipping them. Yeah, please hit that like button if you're watching the show. Also, 11 a.m. Eastern on Saturdays, we'll be breaking down all the games. Ian, coming back to you, is that a reason that you would look to bet the home team here after a blowout?
The home, I mean, it's off a blowout type of loss. Yes, there is something to that, no question. It's one of those things. Where do you go with it in terms of what do you rate as the stronger factor going into Game 7? The home team trying to make amends for a blowout loss, or do you give the road team the edge early in the game because they've got the momentum of a win the last game? They're feeling good about themselves. They come out strong, like, hey, we can go into this building and win this game, and they have a good first quarter. So it's like that wrestling match going on in your head when you're thinking about it, to be honest with you. Do you ride the momentum of the road team because they won big in the last game, or do you take the prideful home team after getting their ass handed to them in the last game early in that first quarter in that betting situation? For me, I would still defer a little bit to the road team, but personally, will I be betting the first quarter in either of these games? No, these are just leans and just gut feel thoughts on my part.
All right, got one more question for you, Ski. We also got Thierry in the house. Just want to say thanks, guys, for making this show, and greetings from Finland. Well, welcome in from Finland. Glad to have you. Let us know if anybody else in any cool places around the world tuning in. We really appreciate it. We got @SkiProfit on Twitter, @Babano, which is Ian Cameron on Twitter, and myself @DrewMartinBets. And yeah, please smash the like button. It does help us out. Ski, want to just talk here about the total here in Philadelphia versus Toronto. We came up with some great total analysis on the first game, Portland in Denver. You seeing anything here with 209 that kind of tickles your fancy here?
The only thing I can say is when I expect Philly to win, I expect more points. When I expect Toronto to win, I expect less points. So just to make it easy thought process, I lean on the under just because I expect Toronto to lock down Philly. Okay. And that with Game 7, we already said we lean towards the unders. I wouldn't really look towards points here.
Okay, Game 7 philosophy of looking towards the under and Toronto being the favorite. I could see that. And Ian, any thoughts for you as far as 209 being the total?
It's been an under series. This has devolved into this Sixers-Raptors series. And if you cash the over in the last game, you got the fortune of all good fortunes to cash that over, which had no business, to be honest with you, going over the total. But it did. Lots of scramble points. There's scrubs and bench unit guys that played the last couple minutes of that game. There's lots of baskets, not a lot of defense, some fouling as well. and that ended up getting that game over the total. But it was a very fortunate over win. If you had that side with the total in Game 6, I would not bank on that happening again. I would definitely lean to both Game 7s under the total, get defensive intensity here from both sides. Yeah, in terms of both of these games from a Game 7 standpoint, under is the way I would go with both of them.
Good stuff, guys. We got Gabriel Hernandez in here saying, does Mexico count as a cool place? Absolutely, Gabriel. Bienvenidos to our video, man. Welcome in. Mexico's a great place. Where are you at in Mexico? It can be a lot of fun down there, you know. Less rules, a little cheaper to have a good time. So Mexico's a great place. Ian Cameron knows.
Oh, exactly. Well, I love the commercials too. They do these avocados commercials here. Avocados for Mexico. You always hear that song commercial all the time, and it's always funny to see that. But it makes me want to take a trip there whenever I watch that commercial.
Absolutely. Ski, do you ever head down to Tijuana?
I haven't been, but I'm going to make my way down there. I know I talked about it with you last time. My coworkers are trying to get me to Tijuana, so eventually I'll make my way.
All right, cool, man. Yeah, it's a fun time. Mexico City, you guys are welcome. All right, hey, next time, Mexico City.
We'll remember that, Gabriel.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think that would be cool. We got V. Philippines is cool, just hot. Well, welcome in. If you're in the Philippines, that's cool too. What about Southern California? Absolutely, Taylor. Welcome in, man. We got Ski Prophet himself in the area, correct, Ski? I think you're on mute.
I must have missed the question.
Oh, he just said SoCal. You know.
Yeah, SoCal. Yep. I'm in LA area right now. I mean, I'm in Northridge, but I'm from LA. I'm from West LA, all throughout LA. So, yep.
Good stuff, man. And guys, we got best bets coming up to end the show here. Off of a down weekend last weekend, but overall, the show's best bets are in the positive. So hopefully we can bounce back off of last weekend. But Ski, is there anything else you wanted to throw out as far as these two games, betting philosophy in the NBA playoffs right now? Anything that you think the watchers need to know about before we get to best bets?
I would just say we kind of talked about everything. Game 7 unders, the home teams in Game 7. People who make parlays, I mean, it would be a great time to make a parlay for the home teams.
Parlay in the home teams? Okay.
Right. Yeah, I looked at it earlier. I think it's about plus 104 or so.
Not bad. Not bad at all, actually. Yep.
Yeah, money line parlays.
Right. And I just want to read these couple stats for the Portland and Denver. The average first half points per game away for Portland is 52.4 away. The average first half points per game home for Denver is 58.3. So that's about 6 point difference for the first half, Portland and Denver. And on the second quarter, just alone, Portland, 25.3 second quarter points per game away. Denver, 29.2 second quarter points per game at home. So that's about a 4-point edge. So I'm looking for a second quarter or first half. I like those looks.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Ski. And Ian, is there anything else you wanted to throw out for the watchers before we get to best bets?
Well, I just want to throw out it's going to be a tremendous conference finals. I mean, whether it's Golden State versus Portland or Denver, Milwaukee versus Toronto or Philadelphia, going to get an excellent conference finals. I will say this, though, and it's not just because, you know, I've got so many people that are Raptors fans. I hope they do well as well. I'm not a diehard Raptor fan by any stretch. I'm not a diehard fan really of anybody other than the Ticats and the CFL. That's the one team that I am emotionally gutted when they lose, and it's because I'm a season ticket holder too, so I feel like I'm invested in them, not only financially but more emotionally as well. But I do hope the Raptors well, and more than anything, it's not so much that I want to see the Raptors in the next round because I love the team or anything. I want to see it because I want to see Kawhi Leonard against the Greek Freak. I want to see that matchup. That is a spectacular matchup in terms of the best players on each of those teams. That would be an amazing Eastern Conference Finals to watch if we get that one-on-one with Kawhi and Greek Freak. Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, that would be a great matchup. We also got some guys in here. Joseph Gomez, straight out of Dirty Jersey. Welcome in from Jersey. And 818 Rise Up from German. Welcome in, guys. All right, it's time for best bets. And guys, please smash the like button. We're here Saturdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time throughout the NBA playoffs. We got Portland, Denver, Philadelphia, Toronto, best bets. Ian Cameron at Babano on Twitter. Great follow on Twitter. Great handicapper overall. Knows the CFL, NBA, college football, NFL. Man of many talents. At Babano on Twitter. Ian, what do you got for best bets, man?
Best bet, yeah. I mean, tomorrow we got the two games. Like last week, I was saying Denver, Toronto. It's going to be one of those two teams. And once again, I'm going to go with Denver as my stronger take and my stronger opinion here. Minus 5.5 in this one. I think they learned the lesson of the San Antonio game. I just like what I'm seeing from this team. I think Michael Malone continues to be a great coach. Denver has consistently gotten better and better each season that Michael Malone has been there as the head coach. I think they're ready to put this series to bed. They're going to need McCollum and Lillard to shoot extremely well to win this game on the road. That's not going to be easy. It's been a little bit of a erratic series from them shooting away from Portland in this series. You know, I like the Jokic has been a man possessed in this series. He's played a ton of minutes and he still keeps producing, you know, giving you double doubles, even the one triple double earlier in this series has been amazing. Murray's been great. Barton has stepped up and made big shots. How about the old man Winter turning back the clock too? Paul Millsap in this series for Denver. How good's he been? Absolutely outstanding team wide. This group again. Don't be fooled by the Game 7 score, 90-86 against San Antonio. They controlled that game. All right, they were the better team throughout in that game. They fell asleep a little bit the last few minutes. I don't think that happens here. I think they learned from that near painful lesson against San Antonio that almost cost them. I think they show up, put this thing away. Denver, minus 5.5. Great season, Portland, but I like the Denver team overall better. They're at home, which is big in a Game 7. And the coaching edge, I got to like Michael Malone a little bit more than Terry Stotts, don't I? Yeah, I'll take Denver here, minus 5.5. Best bet.
Hell yeah, you like Mike Malone more than Terry Stotts.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we'll let Ski Profit, kind of the main man for the show, knows the NBA as good as anybody, go last. I'll get mine out real quick. Ski, Portland, Denver. We talked about this total. Went 227 last game, and yet the odds makers moved the total down. Ski Profit and Ian Cameron both talked about it as far as the home team and the more talented team being able to control the pace. I'm a big proponent of that in the game of basketball overall, college basketball, which I use that a lot, the NBA as well, learning from both Ian and Ski on this show. I like the under in Portland, Denver, and you can get it as high as 213 right now. That's at Bovada. So if I'm allowed to use Bovada, which I believe I am, 213 under. The market's pretty much at 212.5. So I'm on Portland, Denver under 213 for my best bet. Ski Profit, one of the best follows on Twitter there is, at Ski Profit. Welcome back, man. What do you got for best bets?
Before I answer, do you mind if you have the line for the first half on that game, the Portland and Denver game?
Absolutely, Ski. And I'll also defer to you. If you think I should change my bet from full game to first half for best bets, just please let me know, because I know you know the NBA betting markets better than me. So if you got any advice for me, I will gladly take it.
I like your play on the under. Honestly, I was thinking you were going to go with the other game, Toronto, but I like your play on the under. We both agreed on that under. I like that play. I'm just curious on the spread on the first half, because, I mean, I like Denver. I like them either on the first half or second quarter. Maybe, you know what? I'll take a little more time on that and tweet out a play tomorrow. So my best bet, we've talked about it. Game 7 home teams. Don't see it stopping. I'll go ahead and grab Toronto. I'll be on Denver just like Ian as well, but I'll put my best bet as Toronto minus the 6.
Toronto minus 6 being the best line out there. And as far as your question on the first halves for Portland, Denver, I'm seeing 104.5 or 104, depending on where you're shopping as the total, and minus 3 Denver for first half. Okay.
And the spread is 5.5. So if it goes up to 6, it will still stay at 3. So I'm in no rush to bet that first half. I'll maybe look to see what that second quarter comes out. So yeah, I'll stick with that Toronto minus the 6 as my best bet.
All right, great show so far, guys. We got Ian on Denver minus 5.5. I'm on Portland, Denver under 213, and Ski Profit on Toronto minus 6. Ian, come back to you. Any last thoughts before we shut this down?
No, that's about it. Great to have Ski back. He's one of the ingredients that makes this show go every single weekend. So we're glad he's back in the fold. We're looking forward to a big weekend of NBA Game 7s tomorrow. These are two big games, two great games. Hopefully they live up, and we get some great basketball, and we get some winners in our bankroll as well.
Winners are important. I back that. Good to have Ski back. And Ski, anything else you want to throw out there before we shut this down?
It's just great to be back. I love talking sports with you guys. It's been great on this show. We've been having success, so hopefully we keep it going this week.
Absolutely, man. Well said. At Ski Profit on Twitter. We got at Babano on Twitter. That's Ian Cameron. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets today. Hopefully grab some winners, and we'll see you next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Good luck.